Now this came out pretty well just with the power washer, but I'm going to take one additional step here. I'm going to apply a deck cleaner and brightener just to take off any residue and lighten up some of the darker spots. Before beginning, I'm wetting the grass and shrubs near the deck. This will dilute any cleaner that runs off the edges. When using any deck cleaner, cover arms and legs, put on rubber gloves, and wear eye protection. Pour the cleaner undiluted into a sprayer, screw on the top, then pump 25 to 30 strokes to build up the pressure. On warm days like this, I pre-wet the deck surface to keep the cleaner from drying too quickly. Then spray on the cleaner and brightener. The ground bevel on the edge allows the tool to be easily driven between the trim and wall. The integrated center wedge then continues to separate the materials. In some cases, this wedging action alone is enough to complete the job.
If this piece happens to be long, and that's kind of an exaggeration, there's not a lot I can do to get a good cut, except what you end up doing is you end up letting it come out past, and then you end up with gaps underneath, and it's just really tough to do. So when you cut to an outside corner, it's always a good idea to, if anything, be a little bit short. And we popped a corner-to-corner chalk line, but if we were to try to totally follow that chalk line, we'd really have a mess here with our crown. That right there is about the way that the crown fits flat against the wall, which is where you really want to install it.
The same is true for a 45-degree miter, one of the most common angles cut on this saw. The miter side of the combination square head is a precise gauge for checking accuracy of this angle, which is critically important in making frames and cabinets. Bevel cuts on the power miter saw can also be checked using the combination square. To give this set a little more interest, I'm using a dark brown, sort of bronzy hammered finish called chestnut. I want the color to be deep, rich, and metallic looking with a somewhat aged appearance. The table and chairs came with a polyurethane plastic planter. Now, here the objective is to make this inexpensive container look like metal. A dark bronze hammered finish should do the trick and will complement the color I've used on the metal. Using a circle jig on the bandsaw, I'm cutting 2 round blanks that will become the new seats. With a router and a step and bead bit, I create a decorative detail to the seat edges, something simple yet appealing. Each wall requires 2 sections of molding. I cut a 45-degree miter on the end of the second piece and set it into position, making sure that the tip of the miter is fully into the corner. Then I mark the spot where the 2 pieces meet. This is a straight cut on the saw with the miter indicator set at 0. Putting up the full tiles goes quite quickly. Here's where having a second person to apply the adhesive can save time and avoid a lot of trips up and down the ladder. It's important to make sure the tiles are pushed tightly together, the corners are aligned, and that the edges follow the chalked guidelines. The second plank and all those that follow is set into position by tilting it slightly so that the groove in the side can engage the tab on the clip. Once flat on the joist, the board is tapped into position using a scrap 2-foot section of decking and a mallet. The clip not only secures the decking to the joist, it also creates a consistent spacing between each strip of decking. More prep space, well-organized storage, and a great-looking environment were key items on the firefighters' kitchen wish list. Did they get them? Well, now's the time for the unveiling. Well, gentlemen of Palos Fire District Station Number 1, on behalf of IKEA and the Family Handyman magazine, I'm about to introduce you to your new kitchen. Come on in.
Oh man, look at this.
Let me show you just a few of the highlights here. Cutlery, silverware.
Honestly, I've never really thought of a kitchen at IKEA. I was quite surprised at how well constructed it was.
So where does silicone come from? Well, the most likely source is spray or liquid furniture polishes. Repeated use over time builds up residue, which becomes apparent during refinishing. Shellac has the ability to seal off silicone, providing a barrier that isolates it from the new finish. The best way to load a brush, especially when using a finish like this one, is to wet the bristles about halfway up, then gently slap the brush on the side of the container. Apply the finish in straight, even strokes, moving in the direction of the grain. The top coat we'll be using is this spar urethane from Minwax, which is designed for exterior use. I've chosen a semi-gloss sheen for the chair, so a thorough stirring is important to distribute the flattening agent evenly. To make pouring neater, I snap on a plastic spout and slowly pour the polyurethane down the side of a clean container. The best way to load the brush is to dip it into the finish about halfway, then slap it gently on the container sides to remove any excess. When applying a clear top coat like this, it's best to begin at the top and work downward in order to catch drips. Brush in the direction of the grain using long, smooth, straight strokes until the coating is uniformly distributed.
So I'm going to remove the thumb drive, take it over here, and insert it into the 3D printer.
Now I'll choose the print option from the printer menu, select the file, and tell the machine to begin printing. From here forward, the printer is pretty much on its own. In this case, it will need several hours to complete the project.
So with this, I can now mark the length of my next piece here, saw it off, and I'll have my pair, and then I can do the others and have a frame ready for glue up. You can now put a couple of index marks onto the router box that will help you align the next part where it needs to go. And if you do that before you release it, then you'll have a way to index the next guy right in it. So the next important job is to find out how centered our mortise is on the stock.